Now that we've run this and we made an assertion on running this use async function, we're going to resolve this promise and see what happens next. So we'll say resolve, which is going to call this resolve function, which will trigger this promise to resolve. And then our use async hook will update the state because it attached a then handler to that promise. So let's save this and see what happens now. We're getting another act warning. Let's see if we can ignore that for right now, and we'll put an assertion in here. That's interesting. We absolutely should be getting a different state here, but we're not, and we're getting this act warning. Well, this is precisely the type of thing that act is intended to help us avoid, because this is definitely wrong. So what's happening here is when we resolve this, on the next tick of the event loop, this success handler is getting called, and setData is getting called to re-render our component and return new values for our state. So what we need to do is we need to wait until that action has taken place before we continue with our assertions here. So we need another act here. And if we save that, we're still getting that warning because we need this act to be asynchronous because the action itself is asynchronous. So let's make this an async act. We'll have to await that. And then we actually want to wait for the promise to resolve here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to make a P for promise, and we'll assign the return value of run to that variable. That way we can wait until run completely resolves. So then we can come down here and await P, save that, and now we're getting a failing test as we expect. So let's update a couple things. Our status here is now resolved. Our is loading is now false. Is error is still false, and is success is now true. And then our data was originally null, but now it's undefined. The reason it's undefined is because we resolved this passing nothing. So let's resolve it with a value that we can assert on, and I could resolve it with some value, and then just copy this and put it into my assertion here, and that would actually work. But I want to also assert that this is not just an object that looks like this one, but it actually is the exact same object. So to do that, I'm going to make a symbol. We'll call this the resolved value. We'll make a symbol with the description resolved value. And that is what we're going to resolve to. And then we'll pass that as the data. And that ensures that it is exactly the same thing, not just a copy. So in review for this one, when we called this resolve, it did trigger this update, but it happened asynchronously. And we got an act warning telling us that, hey, there was a state update and I don't think that you were expecting that. Which of course we really were, but we weren't communicating that in our code, and it resulted in our result.current not getting updated properly. And so we added an async act to resolve this promise to that specific value, and then we waited for the promise we get back from run to resolve before continuing on to make our assertion.